I am wow, StreamYard, who by the way, I should find that little graphic. StreamYard's a sponsor. I should tell you, holy cow, they've added all these new features. I logged in this morning and they were like, well, would you like to do a whole bunch of new things for the first time? And I was like, no. And then I thought maybe that should be one of our topics for today. So today we're going to talk about building an inspiration factory. You ever feel a little stuck? You ever feel a little like unsure of how you want to go after the day or what you want to do? Or do you ever get a little bored of like you'll start a creative project and you get a little flooded? Well, here's our day. Backpack Show. Hello, it is I, Chris Brogan. Welcome to the Backpack Show. I am solo because Carrie O'Shea Gorgone is somewhere else in this same building taking leadership training today. And I have already failed out of leadership training, so I don't get the opportunity to be part of that. Chloe says, good morning and happy Friday. Hey, Chloe, I recommended you to my friend, some guy I follow on the internet, George Holden, who is a photography kind of guy, but he went off on how much he really loves Notion. And I said, I know someone who loves Notion, so I recommended Chloe. Now, what's weird is I saw comments from my dad and my mom, but then they vanished. So I don't know if they just decided to rescind their good mornings or if they were phantom comments or what. I'm going to need your help today. I'm going to need you to participate because otherwise, who knows how fast we'll get this thing over with, and then it'll feel weird, and we don't want that. So the idea of the show today was to build an inspiration factory. And what am I talking about? I find that a lot of people say that they get stuck with writer's block. They get stuck with not knowing how to go off and pursue their interests. They go, like for instance, me, I'm into photography, and they'll go, I don't know what to shoot. I don't know what to go off and take pictures of. I don't know how to get things started, or I don't know what's interesting or not. Hi, Leslie. So I thought we could talk about building an inspiration factory. So what do I mean by that? I find that one reason we don't know or can't really tap into our creativity is we don't do anything to systematize the idea of using inspiration and building creative things and thinking in a very creative way. We don't practice it, and then we wonder why we can't do it. That would be sort of like saying, man, I don't know why I don't know how to run a marathon if you're not a runner, right? Running starts with you run from one telephone pole to another pole. You wheeze for the one or two poles it takes you to get your breath back. And then you go back at it again, and then you run another couple phone poles, and until you can build up the habit and you can run. It took me 6 months to be able to run a marathon distance, 9 months to get to a marathon distance. It took me like 3 months to get from a couch to a 5K, which was the plan I followed, couch to 5K. Well, why would you think creativity is any different? That's the thing that always blows my mind. People will be like, I have no idea why I'm not as fast at being creative. And I go, when was the last time you sat and did a creative thing? And they're like, months ago. And I go, that's so crazy, because if you do it daily, then it works. Oh, but Chris, I don't know where to get ideas. I don't know what to do to be creative. Aha. What does a factory do? A factory takes materials, turns them into something useful, and puts out the materials into the world. People then come and collect those materials. They get shipped to different places, and then we get dispensed. So if bottled water is made in sort of a water bottling plant, they have a machine. They have pipe works that bring the water to that location. They filter it. They do all the things that they do. They run little bottle machine like that, and then slaps a label on, runs this plastic cap on. They probably have some kind of shoot lasers through it to get rid of all the bugs and put it on trucks or something like that, right? So there's a process. So materials, processing, output. That's how it works, right? An idea factory, an inspiration factory is the idea. When I say it like that, does it immediately feel just a little more clear kind of what I'm getting at? You need the input. You need the raw materials before you can process them and make an output. Bob swung by today. Bob says, great subject and timely. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to watch the replay. Well, get on out of here, Bob. I'll keep a replay around for you. There'll be one on LinkedIn. There'll be one on YouTube. And there's one on Twitter, which I will never call X. I want to talk about some of the material places that I get the raw stuff that I use for inspiration. One of them, and you have one of these devices with you everywhere, is the camera on your phone. So you can take pictures. This is just a random shot of Boston. This is from the view from my hotel room. You could take pictures with your camera of things you find interesting. I tend to take lots of pictures of signs that I think are funny. For instance, I was out doing a little photo walk before I shot the show today, and I'm in Boston. I'm in the Seaport District right now, and I will show you a couple pictures I got. You could. I'm just really gonna just hold my camera up to the screen, but this is called the Innovation and Design Building, and I thought it was just kind of funny to just capture the word building on the sign, and I thought that was kind of funny, and so that's an inspiration I got along the way. Now these all look in black and white right now, but when I process them later, they'll be color. But this was this metal bench, and it had these really cool designs on it, and so I just kind of wanted to capture just the designs, kind of in the abstract. So that made my mind think a different way. So it's seeing something a different way. What do you think when you see this picture? I think, what's that guy looking at? Now I happen to know because I looked kind of where he was looking about 30 minutes earlier, and what he's looking at is he's looking at construction people doing construction stuff. Today seems to be a concrete pouring day, so there's lots of people down in a hole prepping up this area that they're going to do concrete. So my guess is this is the foundation of building a skyscraper. So Inspiration Factory. Now, here's the interesting idea within the idea within the idea. We interviewed a guy named Tom Watson on here a couple of episodes back. He runs a thing called Glass. Do you remember Glass? It's a social network. Glass.photo is the social network. And every month they have a prompt, and you have the opportunity to try to put up a prompt, a picture that somehow relates to the prompt. This month happens to be industrial. And I knew there was construction going on down the street from this hotel. So I went down the street and grabbed the picture because there was a prompt. So my idea factory was material, a prompt called industrial. Walk down the street, take the photo, process it, make a piece of art. Boosh, I have a picture of people working in the factory. Chloe says it is interesting how much freedom is gained in structure and constraint. Because if you're, think about my example was like a water factory. You can't make cars in a water factory, not without a great deal of retooling. So that is an important point, Chloe, because one of the things that happens is once you kind of lock into what you're trying to make, then you have a better sense of inspiration as well. The other big problem, it really opens a springboard for a good idea. Oh, that's really interesting too. Huh. I just saw a photo I need to take. I'll do it later. If you have open-ended, what in the world should I be creative about today? That is vividly different than I'm working on a book, or I'm working on a record album, or I'm working on marketing materials or something like that. If you don't have kind of a product, some kind of an end result, the water is the end result in the water factory. No wonder you're having a little trouble putting stuff in your factory. No wonder you're having trouble finding materials. So an example of this, again, material, process, output. That's the whole thing. Product is at the end, right? So the materials part of things, for instance, I like to see, are there things that I just don't normally look at? Is there stuff that I can find out there that I find of note for one reason or another? So I'll give you another example. I found this band that I'd never heard of. They're called Atarashi Gakko. And this is their song called Tokyo Calling. I'm not going to play the song because I'm freaked out that what they'll do is I'll get copyright stricken or something. But it's these 4 young ladies from Tokyo. And it's the video is hilarious to me because it's just sort of campy, like 70s-ish movies, late 60s, early 70s-ish movies kind of styling. And I didn't know anything about the band, so I started looking into them. And it turns out that they have there's a lot to them. Like the tall one is they kept calling her like weird and quirky, and largely because she's from Osaka. And I was thinking, well, I don't know enough about Japan to know why someone from Osaka would be quirky. But it's of note that the shortest one is also the oldest one and somehow the most solid of them, et cetera, et cetera. But the song is called Tokyo Calling. It is worth checking out this band. Um, but why? Why is because I like seeing things from sort of different angles, from different perspectives, different places. Because then from there, you might get the sense of something that you hadn't thought of before. You might see some process, or you might see some creative moment that draws you into another feeling or sensation. There's this band that suddenly got super popular on TikTok, and they're an Indian band. They're called Hanuman Kind, and they have this song called Big Dogs. And this video, a lot of it is shot in one of those kind of entertainment doodahs, like a motor circus, where this is a round wall thing, and these cars are and motorcycles are going around for real in this thing. And they shot the whole video kind of on this. Now there's some effects, obviously, but there a lot of this is practical effects. And I thought, how fun that, speaking of constraints, they don't have a whole lot of money for a video like this. So it's just a bunch of people in this very real experience with a handful of cameras, right? This is not super hard to have made. I'm fairly sure you've seen this video out there if you have TikTok, for instance. So what does this have to do with our idea? What does this have to do with the Inspiration Factory? The idea is, like what Chloe said, you work with constraints. Another part of the idea is the fact that every time we do something like this, we can see inputs of things we hadn't thought about in any particular way. I want to go back to stuff I was shooting photos of. I wanted to show you that another thing you can do is you can get into a type of photography. These might be hard to see because I shot them kind of dark on purpose. You could do a different type of photography than you're used to. So I went and I got a whole bunch of candids from the classroom where this class is going on, and I shot all kinds of people who are learning, and I'm going to put them into a little collage of the people who are at the leadership training course. Geez, hang on, I'm getting the light the wrong way. There we go. This one I was waiting for. That's Shaq Thomas. So what the thing was there is I like to take street photography. I like to take a lot of architecture shots. I decided to go and get my inspiration from this class that was going on and stand in and act like one of those portrait photographers. So again, it's the same sort of thing. I had an output in mind. I said, I want to make a collection of the people in this class. I want to make sure I, really nailed down 12 or so of the 25 people training and make a real photo spread of it and all that. So how does that work? With the factory, you have to think, what's my end product? You have to think, what are the materials I'm going to draw from, like those videos I was showing you? And then you have to say, how do I put it together and do something? That third part is the part you know how to do. The middle part, the how do you actually process this into something? That's the part that's your art. Is this all lining up? Is this all making sense to you? So on the one side, it's inspiration. So you got to hunt inspiration. So I hunted it from videos. I hunted from library books. I get books out of the library all the time. This is photo books. This one happens to be Gordon Parks, incredible American photographer. Just all kinds of stuff covering life out in the world, and was in a situation where he was funded to go and just capture life as it is, to highlight certain experiences and things going on in the world. So it was, by the way, including famous sports people. It's fascinating because when you look at things like this from the library, then you start thinking, okay, take this picture here. Look at how the saxophone player frames the piano player. I've used that today in taking a shot of some of the people in that room. Some of the people in the room, I thought, what if I use another person's actions and shapes to frame another person in the picture and add some real depth to the picture? Inspiration, process, because I take the thing I take, and the end product. That's the plan. Hey, Deb, how are you? Long time no see. Good to see you here. Now, what do you have to do to keep an inspiration factory going? I've already explained it. I'm going to explain it again, though. Daily input. You need raw materials daily. That's the magic trick. Daily. Oh, but I don't always have time. You always have time for something. You just have to find the way you have time. You might not have time to get out and do a photo walk like I did. You might not have time to watch 300 videos or something like this. but you probably have some time. You know, that music video that I showed you, Tokyo Calling, and the other music video I showed you, Big Dogs, that's 8 minutes. You know where you have 8 minutes? You have 8 minutes while you're sitting out in front of the school waiting for the kid. You go to the grocery store, you can stick an audiobook in your ear or listen to podcasts or something like that. We waste so much time in a day. We treat time as if it's infinite, and we treat money as if it's finite. And it's the other way around. So to get inspiration, the process is gather materials, gather materials, gather materials, and put the where into the process as well. Put the where am I going to go get my materials? I'll show you, for instance, as a book author, one of the things I do often as a book author is I'm always writing notes and lists for my process. So for instance, I can open up a browser pad. This is browserpad.org. You can make a list of 10 things you want to remember, or 10 possible topic ideas. Better small talk for conferences. There you go. That's a post idea. Another post idea, places to practice inspiration. Ways to think about collaboration. So I'm not going to go all 10 because you've seen me write 10 lists before, but let me explain what I'm doing here. What I'm explaining to you, what I'm trying to get done, what I'm showing you is that the act of writing lists of 10 is its own inspiration factory. I stole this from James Altucher in his book, Choose Yourself. He talks all about the idea of writing 10 ideas a day. I do it every single day, no matter what. I have thousands of ideas, thousands of lists like this. Not every single idea is the best, but every time I sit down to write, like for instance, I write a Sunday newsletter. Every time I sit down to write, I just look at my list pile. I go through some fistful of them. And again, I have thousands of these. I can go, okay, that one seems good, right? I'll never run out. I will have more post topic ideas for writing and everything else than I have life left in my body. I can write every single day between now and the time I am dead, which, hopefully is at least 1 year away. And I will keep going. That's how it works. I have mountains of material when it comes to writing. When it comes to photography, the best way to feed my lens is to go to more places that I haven't been. I went down to, this is where I am now in Boston, is the seaport. It's down from where the ships come in for dropping off. And right now there's a strike going on down at the seaport. And so there's some protesters. I didn't go down and see their protest. I'm on the wrong side of them, actually. They're on the whole other side of this thing, but I'm going to show you. So I went down, and there's a harbor patrol boat there. There's this other one I saw. I saw this really cool building that's being torn down and then reused. Same building. This was the idea and design location. I thought that was kind of a cool looking building. I was looking for a shot like that. Oh, this is there we go. This is a shot I like when this becomes color. Right now it's black and white because I shoot black and white on my camera. It's bright blue behind, and the lightest parts on that framing is orange, and it's just going to be a very striking graphic kind of a situation. So this is fascinating because it always gives me a new way to look at things. It gives me a chance to put together ideas, and I feed the lens. That's my whole plan. Hey, Evan's here. Evan says, I wonder where those are going in the will. Oh, my list of lists? Well, I tell you what, they're probably going to end up in my sarcophagus is my plan. Leslie says, I always love having music or podcasts in my ear while I'm doing other things. I have your show in my ear right now while I'm working. Yeah, I know. Leslie's like sneaking this at work. So we're going to wrap up this little story. We have made it to the end of the show. Thank you, everyone, for participating. It was nice to hear some thoughts and feelings and ideas. I'm going to do this.
Oh, and here's our person of the day. Kaboom!
You know what I'll do? I'll leave a surprise for Bob Farnham, who doesn't stop by super often. So I'll give Bob the person of the day. So if he gets this far in listening to the recording that he said he would, and I believe he will, Bob, you are the person of the day. That entitles you to one free apple. All you've got to do is run into any grocery store, take the apple, get out fast, and just eat it. You don't have to wash it because Carrie's not here. She's somewhere else in the building. really grateful that you're here. Thank you so much for being part of this thing. One other thing about creativity that I always like to point out to people is that you can always also ask ancestors about creativity. I would ask my Grammy for ideas what to do. My Grammy perpetually had huge sheafs of copy paper that my mom used to take from the office and pens. And my little brother and I would go right down on the carpet in front of the TV and get out some markers and stuff like that. My little brother used to draw something really weird, and how he drew it was even weirder. I'm going to explain it. And I think really, if you look at it that way,